Welcome to PAB 2011.
I'm going to try to keep myself to the 4-hour limit that was just set for me. Yeah, I'm Tom Merritt. I do podcasting for a living now, which is something that I have strived to want to do since before podcasting was a thing. What I've strived to want to do is actually do what I love and get paid for it. And it's been a long journey. The way I started it was starting a website that I didn't care if anybody read, but listening to the people who did, engaging them in the audience. That turned into a job in being in charge of a website at a television network where I gained a lot of experience with a lot of other things that led to a job at CNET.com, which is where I started doing podcasting, which led to being able to go to TWiT, This Week in Tech Network, and actually that's all I do now is shows. But I have to thank the audience for getting me there along the way. Being open to including people, no matter who they are, where they are, is, I think, one of the successes to the content that I do. And the content that I like, the content that I listen to and watch and enjoy has that. So I'm gonna try to give you 5 ways really quick in this jolt on how to include that. If you think of something while I'm talking, at Tom Merritt. That's not my main Twitter address, but it's a secondary address. And I know plenty of you have smartphones, and I'm going to look at that in a minute. 2 things of the 5 are speaking to the audience. 3 are listening to the audience. The one about speaking to the audience I think is really important, especially for tech news, is tell the story behind the story. We talk about this on Tech News Today, my main show, all the time. The fact of a story may be that Hulu is up for sale. And then there's a little bit behind that story of, and we think it's Yahoo that's going to bid on them, right? So those are some facts and some rumors, and you can get behind that. But try to push beyond that and say, well, why would Yahoo want to buy it? Why, what is going on that would make Hulu want? And we ended up talking about it in the sense of, well, possibly Hulu is trying to push up their bid price by putting out a story, putting out rumors that they're up for sale. So that's a very hard-nosed journalistic example, but whatever story you're telling, push beyond just the initial facts and the obvious stuff. The second thing is bring in your quirky stuff. Authenticity has been talked about a lot today. And I think part of authenticity is not being afraid to say stuff that you don't think the audience is going to care about, except for maybe 1 or 2. And that's, I bring up examples from my hometown of Greenville, Illinois, which is 5,000 people. Nobody knows what I'm talking about when I talk about Mario's Pizza, except for that one guy from Nashville who wrote in and was so excited. He's like, I've eaten there. Or when I was in Montreal, about a month ago, I pulled all these examples of things like Schwartz's Deli and the Montreal-style bagels and poutine, and I start talking about those on my shows. All of a sudden, the people from Montreal are really excited because they're like, oh, yeah, that's our stuff. That's awesome. You will draw people into your content by using those little examples in small bits along the way. So if you're doing podcasting, you're doing episodic stuff, that's going to build, that's going to snowball. Now, as far as the stuff that actually is listening to the audience, first, give them a channel. I just did that at the top of this. I gave you a channel. I said, @reply me on Twitter. Maybe nobody's done it right now, and maybe I won't have enough data to tell. But I'm going to take a look at that. But it's important to let people know what they should tell you and how they should tell you. Have an email address, have a blog where they can comment, encourage them to comment, read their comments on the air, have a Twitter account, have as many ways for them to respond to your stuff as possible. Number 2, include them as co-hosts into your show. So if you actually can take voicemail through something like Google Voice, you can play their voice on your podcast. If you're getting comments on your blog and you find one that's particularly interesting, turn it into a post itself where it's like, hey, you know what? I want to take what your thoughts are and highlight them. Bring your audience into your shows, into your creativity, into your content, and make them a partner. Make them a co-host with what you do. And then finally, what that opens you up to, and what a lot of people don't want to do that, is because you get criticism. You get flamers, you get trolls, you get people who say, you know what, you're awful. I hate everything you do. And these are the 5 reasons why. And the way I try to respond to that is to listen to what they're really saying. So ignore the you suck, ignore the you're awful, ignore all the inflammatory, and try to figure out if there is anything in there. Sometimes there's not. You just ignore those people. But if there is something in there, it's like, you always talk about Apple and I hate that. respond to that and say, well, you know what? We have to talk about Apple, but maybe we talk about it too much. Can you give me some more examples? 9 times out of 10, just responding calms them down. They're like, hey, I'm sorry I was such a jerk. You know, it was a bad morning. I didn't have any coffee, but here's what really would happen. And I think you'll find that you can turn what were flamers and trolls into people who actually can help you make a better show. And I've even turned some people into evangelists that go out and tell other people about the show. So that's my 5 minutes. Thank you.